Hello and welcome to one of the cement works of the Lafarge Group. The safety of the people working at our sites is the #1 priority of the Lafarge Group. For several years, we have taken measures to reduce the number of accidents by developing a zero-accident culture. The zero-accident culture is translated for us by the fact that the safety of people is regarded as a value more important than the mission assigned to them, by the fact that risky situations are not ignored and that risky behavior is no case tolerated by the managers and employees, by the fact that each hierarchical superior are concerned with organizing the work of their teams by minimizing the safety risks, and that employees are permanently concerned with not being injured doing their job. The cement works is a dangerous environment. This safety briefing aims to highlight the key risks as well as the applicable rules and recommendations at this site. At the end of this presentation, you will take a knowledge test before issuing you with a security pass valid for 1 year. Once in possession of this pass, we expect you to adopt a positive attitude, subscribe to the zero-accident culture, observe the rules and recommendations presented today, think before you act, analyze the risks of an operation before intervening. In the event of hazardous behavior, we reserve the right to prohibit you from accessing the site temporarily or permanently. Before you begin, you should remember that a successful intervention is an intervention without an accident. To intervene on our site, you must wear personal protective equipment appropriate to the operation you are going to perform. In all cases, the following individual protective equipment is required: a hard hat on which the name of the company and the security pass should appear, covering goggles, high safety shoes, gloves suited to the operation that you have to perform, covering and high visibility work clothing, and finally, hearing protection. Warning: people wearing glasses will have to wear appropriate overglasses or safety glasses. Covering glasses worn over corrective glasses will not be accepted in our establishment. Depending on the risk analysis, the type of operation, and the intervention place, you must complete this basic personal protection equipment with appropriate equipment. Movements are one of the first causes of an accident within the cement works. Seemingly mundane, movement in a plant involves the risks of accidents that can be avoided by applying simple rules. I won't run. I will hold the rail on the stairs when going up and down, but also in my movements where possible. I will move around carefully, paying particular attention to holes, steps, obstacles and ruts that I may encounter on my travels. I will adjust my trajectory according to the conditions, especially on days of sleet or rain. I will use walkways where they exist. I will not cross any markings without the agreement of the site manager. I will keep my distance from vehicles and machinery, or I will indicate myself to the driver prior to entering his area of movement. I will not go behind a moving vehicle. I will not walk in the middle of the road. I will wear gloves when moving around, and I will not put sharp objects in my pockets. And finally, I will wear high visibility clothing. When traveling by vehicle, I will drive carefully and respect the road signs in the plant. Wearing a seat belt is mandatory in all vehicles and continuously, even for short trips. The speed limit is 20 kilometers an hour in the plant and 30 kilometers an hour in the quarry. Vehicles are parked in reverse. Private cars are prohibited on the sites. The use of mobile phones when driving is prohibited on the entire plant. Finally, a valid driver's license is required, as well as a driving permit and a certificate of operator safety competency, depending on the vehicle used. The cement works is a hazardous industrial environment. We will now review the main specific risks of our business. Be careful. The quarry includes the specific risks related to the operation, such as the blasting and circulation. Before accessing the quarry's facilities, consult the traffic plan displayed at the entrance. Check the safest path with the Lafarge contact and stay away from any machinery. In order to limit the risks related to the movement of machinery, all vehicles accessing the quarry must be fitted with a rotating beacon. Do not go near any machinery on foot or by vehicle without indicating your presence to the driver. Do not cut the trajectory of any machinery. Observe the speed limits. Do not go behind any machinery, and be careful not to remain in a dead angle. The blasting are scheduled at the start of the week and communicated to all Lafarge contacts. On blasting days, the display "Blasting Today" is visible at the entrance to the quarry, and all people entering the quarry need to sign in on the table provided for this purpose at the entrance to the quarry and sign out when leaving. The blasting is scheduled for 12:45 and preceded by a message via loudspeaker broadcast using a plant car. You must take shelter in a building for the duration of the blasting. Traffic on foot or by car are prohibited in the plant and the quarry during blasting. Concretions are clumps of material glued to the wall or ceiling of the facilities. They are potentially found everywhere in devices, but also on the structure of buildings. The most frequent are concretions of the kiln system. In all cases, it is strictly prohibited to go or to work under a concretion. Cleaning must take place beforehand. Several times a week, weekly cleaning operations of the concretions on the inside of the kiln are carried out by teams specially trained in using a high-pressure spray. During these operations, the risks of projections of hot materials are very significant and are indicated by the "Do Not Enter" panels in the tower, which formally prohibit access to the area. The plant has several fuel workshops such as Coke, G2000, DSB, and meat and bone workshops which are subject to ATEX regulations, explosive atmosphere. For all the fuel workshops, the risks will be defined by the risk analysis sheet established with the Lafarge contact. Consult it before you start the work to identify the risks, put in place the protection means, and define the personal protection equipment required. For all work by hotspots, a hot work permit will have to be attained. Smoking is, of course, prohibited in these workshops. The specific risks are fire, explosions, and work on the equipment using chemicals. Stacks of material are frequent in the cement industry environment. Intervening on a stack of material in a silo or hopper is extremely dangerous and must be the subject of special measures. Intervening alone is prohibited, as is going by foot, passing by or working less than 10 meters from a stack of material. It is prohibited to enter a silo or hopper without a permit. The specific risks of these stacks of material are collapsing, burying, and falls, access by vehicle for the stacks of material or from above for hoppers will help limit the risks. Ionizing sources can be used in a quarry or in the plant for different applications. The areas are marked by a specific panel and access is prohibited even for a few minutes. Carcinogenic, mutagenic, and reproductive products called CMR are present on the site and involve the use of the specific PPE which is specified in the risk analysis sheet. Conveyors are very dangerous and have injured or killed several people on our sites. In order to prevent these accidents, Lafarge has set out 10 rules to be observed during an intervention on a conveyor or in the immediate vicinity of a conveyor. An intervention in close proximity to an operating conveyor will only be allowed if all of the protection devices are in place. If the intervention lets you keep a sufficient distance between the conveyor and the operators. Specifically, that clothing, tools, hair, and any part of the body are at a sufficient distance from the conveyor. The facilities must be locked out before intervening. Operators must not change nor incorrectly use or remove the control, locking, or signaling devices. It is prohibited to mount, sit, run, stand, touch, or walk over or under the exposed parts of the conveyors. Operators must be trained and prepared for the use and maintenance of the conveyors. You must ensure that no one is located near the conveyors during its startup, and you must report any hazardous conditions or behavior. Wearing hearing protections is mandatory in the plant because of the ambient noise and the type of intervention, which generates a noise level higher than 80 decibels. Grinding, welding, cutting, rock blasting, working next to machinery, or a compressor are such common operations in the cement works for which the noise level is higher than permitted limit. Remember is that if you raise your voice to be heard, then the noise level is greater than 80 decibels. You must have a driving license, a driving permit, and a certificate of operator safety competency to drive handling equipment. Raw meal, the clinker, cement, but also the exhaust gas, grinding and welding operations, and more generally, interventions at the cement works generate dust, which may have an impact on your health. The most dangerous dust to health cannot be seen. Dust with a diameter of less than 10 microns. The requirement to wear a mask will be specified in the risk analysis sheet, but we encourage you to always wear one. In the event of an accident, stay calm. Protect the victim by cutting the power, electricity, gas, etc. Quickly examine the victim's condition or the importance of the accident to be able to give precise indications. Alert the emergency services and notify the central room. Administer first aid to the victim if you are trained performing emergency operations appropriate for the victim or the accident. Emergency numbers: Pompier, Fix, 18, Mobile 112, SAMU, Fix, 15, Mobile 112, Salle Centrale, Fix, 4442, Mobile 02 43 66 44 42. Any accident must be reported immediately to the Lafarge contact. In the event of a not very serious accident, Lafarge encourages companies to offer the employee a different job with the agreement of the company doctor to ensure the continuity of work. In the event of an accident, leaving the victim alone on the site without the advice of the emergency services and without informing his superiors or Lafarge is prohibited. Certain circumstances may lead us to evacuate the facilities. In the event of evacuation, stay calm. Evacuate without hurrying. Gather at the closest point. Count those present. Await instructions. The evacuation message is broadcast by a car fitted with a loudspeaker. It is important that each operator individually clocks in and out so that the number of people present at the plant is known. The Lafarge cement sites have an ISO 14001 environmental certification. Our environmental policy is to minimize dust and gases emissions, to save natural resources, to integrate oneself in the environment in the best possible way, to prevent and arrange the management of the accidental situations. We expect the subcontractor operators on the plant to subscribe to this policy, particularly in terms of sorting waste. You are responsible for disposing of your waste, and it is prohibited to use our sorting facilities without defined authorization at the time of signing the contract. In the case of non-compliance, Lafarge Cements reserves the right to interrupt your site.